You could read every personal finance book on the shelf, memorize every budgeting framework, and follow every money guru on the internet. And it still wouldn't matter, because the people who actually build wealth aren't doing it through discipline or willpower. They're doing it with systems that run whether they feel motivated or not. And the blueprint for those systems comes from a book that has absolutely nothing to do with money. So how does a habits book end up being the single most useful personal finance tool that almost nobody is using correctly? The answer is way less glamorous than you'd expect. It doesn't start with a stock tip or a salary bump. It starts with a book about tiny habits, written by a guy named James Clear, who accidentally built the best personal finance framework nobody talks about. The core idea of Atomic Habits is deceptively simple. Small habits, repeated consistently, compound into massive results over time. Clear calls habits the compound interest of self-improvement. And when you apply that logic specifically to money, it changes everything. Here's the math. If you improved your financial habits by just 1% each day for a year, you'd be roughly 37 times better off by the end. That's not motivational fluff. That's 1.01 to the power of 365. And the flip side works the same way. Let your financial habits slip by 1% daily and you drift towards zero. But here's what gets overlooked. People set a goal like save $10,000 this year and then try to willpower their way through 12 months. Clear's whole argument is that goals on their own are basically useless. Winners and losers share the same goals all the time. Every person who opens a brokerage account wants to be financially free. The thing that separates them is the system running underneath. Think of it like this. Your net worth is a lagging indicator of your financial habits, the same way your weight is a lagging indicator of your eating habits. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So the real question isn't how much do I want to save, it's what system am I actually running every single day. Clear breaks behavior change into 4 laws. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Each one maps directly onto personal finance in ways that are almost too practical. Law 1. Make it obvious. This is about designing your environment so the right financial cues are impossible to miss. Put your savings goal as your phone wallpaper. Set a payday reminder that triggers a transfer. Move your banking app to your home screen so your balance is the first thing you see every morning. Clear calls this environment design, and it works because you're not relying on memory or motivation. The cue is just there. And the flip side is just as useful. If you want to stop spending on things you don't need, make the cues invisible. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. Delete shopping apps. Remove saved credit cards from your browser. When the trigger disappears, the craving loses its grip. What comes next is the part that still doesn't click for a lot of people. Law 2. Make it attractive. Nobody wakes up excited about reviewing their budget, so you link the boring habit to something you actually enjoy. Clear calls this temptation bundling. You pair the thing you need to do with the thing you want to do. Love your favourite show? Only allow yourself to watch it while updating your net worth spreadsheet. Got a morning coffee ritual? That's when you do your weekly money check-in. It sounds almost too simple, but it works because your brain starts associating the financial habit with pleasure instead of dread. And once that association forms, the habit gets a lot easier to repeat. Law 3. Make it easy. This is where automation enters the picture. And honestly, this is the most important law for building wealth. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. Always has, always will. So if you want to save and invest consistently, you need to remove every possible step between you and the good behavior. Set up an automatic transfer on payday, even $50. It moves straight to your savings or brokerage account before you ever see it in your checking balance. Auto pay your credit card bill in full every month. Auto invest into an index fund on a set schedule. The money moves before your brain gets a chance to negotiate with you about whether you really need that new purchase first. And the timing of what happened in the policy world? Almost too perfect. The government figured this out too. Under the Secure 2.0 Act, new 401k plans established after the law passed in late 2022 are now required to automatically enroll employees at a contribution rate of at least 3%, with annual increases of 1% per year until they hit at least 10%. The default setting is investing, not spending. That single policy shift will quietly build retirement wealth for millions of people who never would have opted in on their own. For bad habits, you flip the approach. Add friction. Use a separate bank for savings so transfers take a day or two. Remove your card details from online stores so every purchase forces a manual entry. Every extra step between you and an impulse buy is a layer of protection for your future self. Pay attention to this next part because it explains everything. Law 4. Make it satisfying. This is the law that keeps your entire system running. The problem with building wealth is that the payoff is years or decades away. Your brain hates waiting. It wants the dopamine now. So you manufacture the satisfaction. Use a savings tracker where you fill in each milestone. Watch your net worth chart update every month. Set up a visual debt payoff tracker and mark it every time you make a payment. These feel small, but they give your brain the immediate feedback loop it needs to stay in the game. Clear has a key rule for this: never miss twice. You blow your budget one weekend? Fine, that happens, but get back on the system Monday morning. One bad day is just noise. 2 in a row is the beginning of a new, worse pattern. But this isn't just about trimming your spending or saving a few extra bucks each month. This is about what compounding does when you give it enough runway. The S&P 500 has averaged roughly 10% annual returns over the last 100 years with dividends reinvested. At that historical rate, if you automated just $200 a month into a broad market index fund and left it alone for 30 years, you'd end up with over $450,000. Your total out-of-pocket contributions, just $72,000. The other $380,000 or so is compounding. Your money-earning returns on top of returns on top of returns, year after year, without you lifting a finger. If you're wondering how that math is even possible, so is everyone who waited too long to start. This math seems quiet in the beginning. It isn't. Clear talks about something he calls the plateau of latent potential. For the first few years, your investments barely seem to grow. You're putting in $200 a month and your balance is crawling. It feels pointless. And that's exactly where people quit. They're stuck in what he calls the valley of disappointment, the gap between what they expect, which is a straight line up, and what actually happens, which is a curve that stays flat for years and then rockets upward. The people who build real wealth are the ones who stayed in the system long enough for that curve to bend. Someone who starts that same $200 a month just 10 years earlier ends up with nearly triple the money. Not because they saved more per month, just because they gave the system more time to run. The same habits that feel boring in year 1 become the engine of your entire financial life by year 10. But here's the deeper layer, and this is the part that nearly every Atomic Habits for Money take completely misses. Clear argues that the most lasting behavioral change happens at the identity level. Not, I want to save more money. Instead, I am someone who pays themselves first. That shift matters more than any budgeting app or spreadsheet ever could. Because when you identify as someone who invests automatically, who lives below their means, who doesn't carry a credit card balance month to month, your decisions start to align without a fight. You're not resisting a purchase because you should. You're passing on it because that's just not who you are anymore. Every automatic transfer you set up is a vote for the identity of someone who builds wealth. Every time you check your portfolio, instead of browsing a shopping app, that's another vote. You don't need a landslide, you just need enough votes to tip the scale. And once that identity locks in, the habits stop requiring effort. Saving becomes what you do, not something you force yourself into. That's the difference between someone who's trying to save money and someone who is a saver. One is fighting their nature, the other is just living theirs. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. Stop trying to budget harder. Stop waiting until you make enough to start. Instead, build one automated system this week. Set up a $25 auto transfer to a savings account. Turn on Roundup Investing in your brokerage app. Auto pay one bill you've been handling manually each month. The smaller system you build today will outperform the biggest goal you set and never follow through on. If this changed how you think about money, like the video, subscribe and share it with someone who's still trying to willpower their way through their finances. They need to hear this. Now here's a question I want you to think about. If your financial habits from the last 12 months kept compounding for the next 10 years, where do you end up? Drop your honest answer in the comments.